Hello, America. This is the voice of the Rational Revolution regarding the embarrassing incident from Donald Trump's press briefing on April 23rd. This is arguably the largest embarrassment for America in the entire Trump presidency, and that says a lot. In order to understand exactly what happened in context, we must first explain something very important. But if you're honest with yourself, you've probably already noticed. Trump's egotistical celebrity billionaire status has rendered him incapable of making rational decisions in the best interest of the people. We're not saying that because we hate Trump and are a bunch of crybaby liberal Democrats. We're saying that because it's becoming more painfully obvious with each passing day. In spite of the gaslighting and pushing of an alternate history to brainwash voters, his choice to ignore the advice of the best scientists in the world at the World Health Organization is well documented. In mid-March, when he finally changed his tune after 2 months of downplaying the virus, it was obvious he still wanted the whole thing to be about him. He couldn't even concede the spotlight to the scientists who actually have the intelligence and education to help us get through this problem. So he began pushing an untested drug called
chloroquine, and some people would add to it hydroxychloroquine.
This drug had not gone through the proper testing and was not FDA approved for treatment of the virus. He had no qualifications to determine the drug's potential and didn't even understand the potential risks.
It's not going to hurt people. It can help them, but it's not going to hurt them. That's the beauty of it, you see? It can help them, but it's not going to hurt them.
But he was wrong, dead wrong. It all came crashing down when the preprint results of the first actual scientific study on this matter were released on April 21st, and it showed that the COVID patients who were not treated with the drug died at a rate of 11%, while the patients who were treated with the drug died at a rate of 27%. The results of the study show that Trump's advice for people to demand the drug from their doctor more than doubled their chances of death.
What do I know? I'm not a doctor. I'm not a doctor. I have common sense.
Common sense would be keeping his mouth shut and letting the scientists do their job and not interfering with the doctor-patient relationship. It takes more than common sense to decide whether a drug should be rushed to the front line and used without testing. It takes a doctor who understands the risks. So he has backed away from pushing drugs for now, but still wants to be the hero because his egotistical celebrity billionaire status refuses to allow himself to be seen as anything else. So he's grabbing at new straws and using his
Stable genius
to come up with new procedures for the doctors to try on COVID patients. Now that you have the context of this complete shit show, you can watch how it all unfolds.
Thank you very much. So I'm asked Bill a question that probably some of you are thinking of if you're totally into that world, which I find to be very interesting. So supposing we hit the body with a tremendous, whether it's ultraviolet or just very powerful light, and I think you said that hasn't been checked, but you're going to test it. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do either through the skin or in some other way. And I think you said you're going to test that too. Sounds interesting. Right, and then I see the disinfectant, where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning? Because you see it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number of the lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that. So that you're going to have to use medical doctors with, but it sounds interesting to.
Not surprisingly, our president's statements were immediately condemned by doctors across the country who were not under his command. Lysol was even forced to release a statement of clarification. Immediately afterwards, Trump's #1 propaganda network, Breitbart.com, released what they called a fact check that claimed Trump was taken out of context and that he was actually referring to only the UV light as the disinfectant. Apparently, Trump was unaware or had already forgotten this narrative, because the following morning he gave clarification that he was simply being sarcastic with the reporters who were asking him the questions. He seems to have also forgotten that no one asked him any questions, and he was merely bragging to the world about how he used his
Stable genius
to think of a new idea for the health experts to try on COVID patients after the previous ploy to make himself the hero failed miserably and surely caused more death in light of the recent scientific study. He then changes gears again and implies that the underlying lesson of his sarcastic response to reporters' questions that did not exist was actually in reference to disinfectant on the hands that could be effective to kill the virus there, and again bragged that he used his
Stable genius
to give experts a new idea and to test his new idea in the laboratory. Check it out.
Mr. President, just to follow up on the comments from yesterday, you said you were being sarcastic, but some people may have misunderstood you. Do you want to just clarify?
Well, I wish they wouldn't, I wish they would, well, I think I did, but I wish they wouldn't. But I do think this, yeah, I do think that disinfectant on the hands could have a very good effect. Now, Bill is going back to check that in the laboratory. You know, it's an amazing laboratory, by the way. It's amazing, the work they do. So he's going to check.
Did he just tell us that he gave scientists a new idea to test in the laboratory whether disinfectant can disinfect hands? Does he think that needs to be tested? Does he think that's never been tested before? Wait, there's more.
Because a hard surface, this is a hard surface, I guess maybe depending on whose hand you're talking about, right? But this is a hard surface.
No, Mr. President, that's not a hard surface.
And disinfectant, the disinfectant has an unbelievable, it wipes it out. You know, you saw it. Sun and heat and humidity wipe it out. And this is from tests. They've been doing these tests for, you know, a number of months. And the result, so that I said, well, how do we do it inside the body or even outside the body with the hands? And disinfectant, I think would work. He thinks would work. But you use it when you're doing your hands. I guess that's one of the reasons they say wash your hands. But whether it's washing your hands or disinfectant on your hands, it's very good. So they're going to start looking at that. And there is a way of, you know, if light, if sun itself, that sun has a tremendous impact on it. It kills it like in 1 minute. It goes from, what was it, hours to like 1 minute. It's dead. So I said, you got to go back and look. But I'd like them now to look as it pertains to the human body, not just sitting on a railing or sitting on a wall. I'd like them to look as it pertains, because maybe there's something there. They have to work with I'm not a doctor. They have to work with the doctors. But maybe there is something to light and the human body and helping people that are dying. Okay?
But just to clarify that, sir, are you encouraging You're not encouraging Americans to
No, of course,
ingest
no, of course.
disinfectant.
That was, interior-wise, it said sarcastically. It was put in the form of a question to a group of extraordinarily hostile people, namely the fake news media.
What the fuck is this? This isn't a shit show. This makes a shit show look like a goddamn ballet.
Supposing we hit the body with a tremendous, whether it's ultraviolet or just very powerful light, and I think you said that hasn't been checked, but you're going to test it. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do either through the skin or in some other way. And I think you said you're going to test that too. Sounds interesting. Right, and then I see the disinfectant, where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning? Because you see it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number in the lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that. So that you're going to have to use medical doctors with. But it sounds interesting to me. So we'll see. But the whole concept of the light, the way it kills it in 1 minute, that's pretty powerful.
It is time for rational change in this country. The rationality of our children's future depends on it. We must speak now, and we must speak all the way to November on behalf of every great leader that has worked to establish the rational America that we know and love.